Hello everyone and welcome back to Edu School and our TOEIC preparation program. In this video, I'll give you a complete overview of the TOEIC test, the format, timing, scoring system, and what you need to succeed. By the end of this lesson, you'll know exactly what to expect on the exam day. Let's get started. Alright, before we begin, here's a quick overview of what we'll cover in this TOEIC introduction session. We'll start with the basics. What is the TOEIC? How it works, and the doors it can open for your future. Then, master the TOEIC listening challenge. Next, we'll look at the listening section, 45 minutes, 100 questions. I'll show you the structure, the types of tasks, and the best strategies to avoid losing points. Next, we'll move to the reading section, 75 minutes, 100 questions. You'll understand how the three parts work, how to manage the long texts, and how to stay efficient until the end. Then, beat the clock, the TOEIC time strategy. We'll talk about timing here. The TOEIC is not only a language test, it's a race. I'll give you time management tips so you can finish on time and maximize your score. Then, after that, we'll quickly explore the optional speaking and writing tests. You'll see what is evaluated and how these tests can enhance your professional profile. Next, we'll look at the scoring system and finish with a motivation boost. Because with the right method, anyone can significantly improve their TOEIC score. And finally, we'll do a mini TOEIC text power quiz. So to wrap up, we'll test your understanding with a fun and quick TOEIC quiz. Let's begin right away. So, let's take a moment to answer a simple question. What is the TOEIC? Well, the TOEIC measures how well you can use English in the workplace and in international communication. It's not just grammar or vocabulary. It's about real-world English used in everyday professional situations. But it's also one of the most widely recognized English tests around the world. Companies, universities, and organizations rely on it to evaluate English proficiency. And the TOEIC, your TOEIC score can make a real difference. It can open new career opportunities. It can also help you qualify for promotions and serve as official proof of your English skills for employers. So, mastering the TOEIC isn't just about a score. It's about unlocking opportunities for your future. Now, let's take a quick look at the structure of the TOEIC listening section. Together, These 4 parts make up the full TOEIC listening section. 45 minutes, 100 questions, and a great opportunity to score high with the right strategies. Part 1. Photographs. In Part 1, you'll see a photograph and listen to 4 short sentences. Your task is to choose the sentence that best describes the picture. There are 6 questions here. Part 2, questions and response. 25 questions. Well, in Part 2, you'll hear a question or a statement followed by 3 possible responses. You choose the response that makes the most sense. Part 3, conversations. 39 questions. In Part 3, you listen to short conversations between 2 or 3 speakers. Each conversation has 3 questions, and you can read the questions while listening. Part 4, talks. 30 questions. In the final part, you listen to short talks such as announcements, messages, or presentations. Again, each talk comes with 3 questions that appear on the screen or on your paper. Alright, let's begin with part 1. In this part, you listen to 4 short sentences that describe a picture. A, B, C, D. Your task is simple. Choose the sentence that best matches the photo you see on the screen. Here. So, what do you do? In this part, you listen to 4 sentences that describe a picture. Your task is simple. Choose the sentence that best matches the photo you see on the screen. What it tests. Part 1 tests how well you can understand actions, positions, and visual details. It also checks your recognition of workplace vocabulary, which often appears in TOEIC photos. Finally, this part evaluates your ability to avoid sound-alike traps, sentences that sound similar but don't match the picture. With practice, Part 1 becomes one of the easiest areas to score points quickly, so it's a great place to build confidence at the start of the test. Now, let's look at some important tips for Part 1 of the listening section. Tip number 1. Look at what is truly visible. The first tip is simple. Focus only on what you can clearly see in the picture. Don't guess, don't imagine, just describe what is actually there. If the sentence mentions something you cannot see, it is incorrect. It is as simple as that. Alright. Tip number 2. Watch out for distractors. So be careful with distractors. These include wrong details, similar actions, or verbs that sound like the correct answer but don't match the picture. The TOEIC often uses small differences to trick you, so listen closely. The last tip is pay attention to prepositions. Pay special attention to prepositions like in, on, next to, behind, and between. These words describe the positions of people and objects, and they can completely change the meaning of a sentence. So, to wrap up on the tips, if you apply these 3 tips, Part 1 becomes much easier and a great opportunity to score points right at the beginning of the test. All right. Now, let's move on to the listening section, Part 2. What do you do there? Well, in this part, you will listen to a question or a short statement. You will then hear 3 possible answers: A, B, or C. Your task is to choose the most logical and natural response. Remember, in part 2, you do not see the answers printed on the screen. This part is audio only, so active listening is essential. Part 2 tests your understanding of everyday English questions and short phrases. It checks your ability to identify the appropriate response in a real-life situation. It also evaluates your skill in recognizing tone, intonation, and context, things like whether the speaker is asking a question, offering help, or giving information. Like I said, understanding of everyday questions, also the ability to identify appropriate responses. And finally, the part tests whether you can avoid distractors, answers that sound correct but don't actually make sense. Alright, so to succeed in part 2, listen for meanings, not just keywords. With focused listening, this part becomes very manageable. Alright. Now, let's go over some useful tips for part 2. Tip number 1, focus on the context, not only the keywords. As I said earlier, the first tip is to focus on the context, not just the keyword. 2 responses may share the same words, the same vocabulary, but only one will truly make sense in a situation. The second tip will be to identify the type of question as soon as you hear it. Is it asking who, when, where, why, how, or is it a yes/no question? Recognizing the question types helps you instantly eliminate incorrect responses. Be careful with responses that reuse similar words from the question. These answers often sound correct, but they usually do not match the meaning. Also, think quickly. Think fast. You only hear the audio once in part 2. Stay focused and make your choice right after listening. So, to wrap up, with these strategies, you'll be able to handle part 2 much more confidently. And of course, you will get a better chance to have a higher score. Let's continue with the listening section, part 3. What to do? Alright, in this part, you listen to a conversation between 2 or 3 speakers. Each conversation is followed by 3 questions, as you can see here on the right. Question 1, 2, and 3. And you can read the questions while listening. Your goal is to choose the most accurate answer for each question based on what the speakers say. What is test? Well, part 3 tests your ability to understand real-life work conversations. This includes topics like schedules, meetings, travel plans, complaints, customer service, and problem solving. It evaluates your ability to recognize the speaker's tone, intention, and purpose. For instance, whether they are requesting something, apologizing, or making a suggestion. Another key skill in part 3 is avoiding distractor, as in part 2. Answers that contain similar vocabulary but do not reflect what the conversation is truly about. So, to succeed in part 3, listen for the main idea, follow the flow of conversation, and use the questions on the screen to guide what you listen for. Here are some useful tips to help you succeed in part 3. Tip number 1, read the questions before the audio begins. Before each conversation starts, quickly read the questions on the screen. This helps you know exactly what to listen for, whether it's a problem, a plan, a reason, or a suggestion. The second tip, focus on key elements: who, what, why, when. In conversations, always identify who is speaking, what they want, why they are talking, and when something is happening. These 4 points will guide you to the correct answers. The third tip, don't try to memorize every word. Instead, understand the general flow of the conversation, the situation, the issue, and the solution. And the last tip, pay attention to transition words like actually, however, so, by the way. This word signal important changes, corrections, contrasts, decisions, or new information that often matches the questions. So, with these strategies, you'll follow conversations more easily and choose answers with confidence. Now, let's look at the listening section, part 4. What do you do? So, in this part, you will listen to short talks. These can be announcements, messages, instructions, advertisements, or reports. Each talk is followed by 3 questions, as you can see here. 1, 2, and 3. And you select the answer that best matches the information you hear. Audit tests. Well, many things. So, part 4 tests your understanding of longer spoken information. It checks how well you can follow the main idea and pick up important details such as numbers, times, dates, and location. It also evaluates your ability to interpret business contexts like meetings, travel, events, customer service, or workplace situations. And finally, you may need to use visuals, such as forms, schedules, or charts to find the correct answers. So, to succeed in part 4, stay focused from the beginning, listen for the purpose and details, and connect what you hear with the information shown on the screen. Here are some practical tips to help you perform well in part 4. The first tip is identify the type of talk immediately. As soon as the audio begins, identify what kind of talk it is. Is it an announcement, a message, an advertisement, or an instruction? Knowing the type instantly helps you predict the content. Tips number 2, listen for the main purpose early. The first few seconds usually reveals the main purpose of a talk. Listen carefully at the start to understand why the speaker is talking. Number 3, pay attention to numbers. In part 4, numbers are extremely important. Times, dates, prices, room numbers, and phone numbers often appear directly in the questions. So, take note when you hear them. And the last tip is expect inference questions. Not every question asks for a simple fact. Some questions require inference, meaning you must understand what the speaker implies, not just what they say directly. So, to wrap up with those tips, with these strategies, you'll be able to handle longer talks more confidently and choose answers more accurately. Alright, now let's look at the reading section of the TOEIC exams. The reading section lasts 75 minutes and contains 100 questions. It is divided in 4 parts, each testing different reading skills. The part 5 is incomplete sentences. In part 5, you'll complete sentences by choosing the correct word or phrase. This section is mainly test grammar and vocabulary. Part 6, text completion. In this part, you read short texts such as emails, notices, or articles with missing words or sentences. You must select the answer that best completes the meaning and the flow of the text. The last part, part 7, reading comprehension. You've got single, double, or triple passages. You read an email, article, advertisement, or notice and answer questions about its content. So, Together, these parts make up the full reading section, where strong strategy and time management are essential. Now, let's focus on incomplete sentences, part 5. You will have to answer about 30 questions testing your grammar and vocabulary. What to do? Well, in this part, you will read a sentence that is missing a word or phrase. Your task is to choose the correct answer from 4 options. These questions are short, direct, and focus on your understanding of how English sentences work. For the test, part 5 tests your knowledge of grammar, vocabulary, and sentence structure. You will see questions involving verb tenses, prepositions, conjunctions, and word forms. To choose the right answer, you must understand the meaning of the sentence and how the grammar fits together. So to wrap up this, with a good grammar foundation and a quick decision making, part 5 becomes a great opportunity for easy points. Here are some helpful tips for succeeding in part 5, incomplete sentences. Number 1, focus on grammar clues. When you read the sentence, look out for the key grammar clues. The subject, the verb, and any time markers like yesterday, already, currently. These clues usually guide you directly to the correct answer. The second tip, eliminate. Get rid of incorrect choices. By removing any options that don't fit with the sentence grammar or meaning, it will help you to get the correct answer. Elimination is a powerful strategy in part 5. If an option is clearly wrong, don't waste time on it. The third tip, don't overthink. Part 5 items are short and often straightforward. Trust your grammar knowledge and choose the option that completes the sentence naturally. I believe with these strategies, part 5 becomes one of the fastest sections for earning points. Now, let's move on to part 6, text completion. There are 16 questions requiring completion of short text. What to do? In this part, you will read short text such as emails, notices, or articles where few words or even entire sentences are missing. For each blank, you choose the answer that logically completes the meaning of the text. This part is not only about grammar, it's about understanding the full message and how ideas connect. On the right is an example of the text and the questions. Now, number 2, body test. So, part 6 tests your ability to follow the flow of ideas within a text. It also checks your understanding of correct sentence structure and how sentences logically connect to each other. You need to choose the option that best fits the context, tone, purpose of the passage. So, with a strong reading awareness and attention to coherence, part 6 becomes much easier to navigate through. Here are some helpful tips to succeed in part 6. First, focus on the whole meaning. When you read a passage, don't focus on just one sentence. Look at the entire paragraph to understand the overall meaning. The correct answer must fit the full message, not just a single line. Then you should look for transitions and keywords. Transition words and keywords show how ideas connect. Words like however, therefore, in addition, or as a result. This clue helps you predict what you should logically come next. Number 3, watch out for distractors. Be careful with choices that sound correct but don't fit in the context. In part 6, distractors often look grammatically correct, but the meaning is wrong. Always check whether the answer matches the tone and purpose of the passage. With these strategies, you'll make smarter choices and move through part 6 with confidence. Now, in part 7, you'll answer 55 questions based on a variety of reading materials. These include single passages, double passages, and sometimes even sets of 3 connected texts. So, what you do? In this part, you will read both single and multiple passages, including emails, articles, notices, advertisements, reports, charts, and more. After reading each passage, you answer questions about the information, either factual or inferential. That's an example of a passage, single passage, and the questions here. What it tests? Well, 2 things here. Part 7 tests your ability to identify the main idea and understand important details within a text. It also evaluates how well you can infer meaning, interpret charts or schedules, and connect information across multiple passages. Here are some tips for you. Don't read every word. In this section, the text can be long. You don't need to read every single word. Instead, scan for the most important words, the most important information, names, date, key details, and main ideas. Efficient reading is key to saving time. Read the first question. Read the questions first. Before you read the passage, look at the questions. This gives you a clear idea of what to look for, so you can read with a purpose instead of guessing. This technique helps you find answers much faster. And finally, manage your time wisely. Part 7 is the longest and often the most challenging part of the TOEIC reading section and the TOEIC overall. Make sure you manage your time carefully. Don't spend too long on one passage. Keep a steady pace to complete all 54 questions. So, to wrap up with part 7. With scanning, question first reading, and good time management, you'll approach part 7 with confidence and efficiency. All right, now let's talk about one of the most important parts of the TOEIC exam: time management. Exact timing overview. So here you'll answer 200 questions in total of 2 hours. That's 45 minutes for listening section where the audio plays only once, and 75 minutes for the reading section where you control the pace. So, here are some tips for better time management. Number 1, move fast on easy questions. Don't spend too long on any single question. If you're unsure, skip it and come back later. Your goal is to keep a fast, steady rhythm. Tip number 2, save time for reading part number 7. As we say, part 7 is the longest and often the most challenging part of the exam. Make sure you reserve enough time at the end to read the passages carefully and answer all the questions. So, with smart spacing and time awareness, you can maximize your score and avoid running out of time. Alright, now some institutions and companies may also require the TOEIC speaking and writing tests, in addition to the standard listening and reading exam. So let's have a quick look on what it is. The speaking section, it describes a picture, respond to questions, and give an opinion. And so this section evaluates your ability to communicate clearly and naturally in spoken English. The second part of this test is the writing section. In the writing section, you'll be asked to write sentences from pictures, compose short emails, and develop an opinion essay. This part measures your ability to express ideas accurately and effectively in written English. Now the scoring and the format. Both the speaking and writing tests are more computer-based and they are scored separately from the listening and reading exam. This means they provide an additional set of scores that some organizations may use for placement or hiring decision. So, to sum up with the optional speaking and writing test, these optional tests are a great way to demonstrate your English communication skills, both spoken and written. Now, let's finish with how the TOEIC score works and a little motivation before you start your journey. So, the listening score. The listening section is scored on a scale from 5 to 495 points. Your score reflects how well you understand spoken English in workplace situation. 2. The reading section is also scored from 5 to 495 points. This measures how effectively you understand written English, emails, notices, articles, and more. Together, these two sections give you a total score between 10 to 990 points. This is the score that companies, universities, and institutions will see. Listening and reading are scored separately, which means you can clearly see your strength and where you can improve. So, your TOEIC score isn't just a number. It represents new opportunity, stronger communication skills, and more confidence in English. You've already taken the first step. Now keep going. With practice, strategy, and consistency, you can reach the score you're aiming for. Believe in your progress and trust the process. Now, let's take a look at what your TOEIC score actually means in real-world terms. So, here, 990. You are an expert. A score at this range shows expert proficiency. You can communicate effectively in any professional situation with near native comprehension. This level is often required for international positions or leadership roles. If you score between 785 and 899, you are advanced. At this level, you demonstrate strong workplace communication skills. You're able to handle complex tasks, participate in meetings, and interact confidently in global work environments. If you are between 600 and 784, your level is intermediate. A score in this range means that you can manage most everyday work tasks. It is a solid level for general office communication, understanding emails, and participating in routine conversations. Now, if your score is between 400 and 599, your level is seen as basic. This level indicates that you can understand simple conversations and instructions. You're still developing your workplace English, but you have a functional foundation to build upon. And now if you score between 10 to 399, you're a beginner. A score here means understanding is still limited. You need more practice and training to function confidently in a professional setting. But remember, everyone starts somewhere. So, now, your score is not a label, it's a starting point. Every improvement, every practice session, every mistake corrected brings you closer to your goals. Whether you're aiming 600, 785, or even 900 plus, the most important step is that the one you are taking right now. You can do this. Keep going. Keep moving forward. Now, it's the time for a quick test. Let's move on to our quick quiz. We'll try one sample TOEIC question from each part of the test. Let's begin with part 1. Ready? Listen to the audio and choose the best answer. A, B, C, or D.
A. One of the women is handing some paper to the man. B. They are all using laptops. C. The lady is typing on the laptop. D. The man is presenting in the office.
So, what is the right answer? A, B, C, or D? Right, it was A. So, this was a sample question of part 1 of the TOEIC. Now, moving on to part 2. Part 2, questions, response. Listen and then choose the best answer, A, B, or C.
How can you improve product quality? A.
By using better materials.
B.
I can prove him wrong.
C.
Production costs.
Now we are on part 3. Part 3 is about conversations. Listen carefully to the audio and then choose the best answer for question 1, 2, and 3.
Hello. Last Thursday I arranged to have cable television installed at my house this Wednesday. Unfortunately, I will have to be out of town that day because of some urgent matters and would like to reschedule the appointment for Friday afternoon.
Okay, that shouldn't be a problem. However, I would like to warn you that there is a $5 rescheduling fee. That's our company's policy. Can I have your name, please?
Oh, I see. My name is Charlie Crammer. I'm living in Haynesville. Do you know when I'll have to pay this fee?
I'll email you soon about a username and temporary password that you can use on our website. Please check the email and pay all your bills through our website.
Number 32. What did the man recently do?
So, question 1. What did the man recently do? Purchase a house, went on a business trip, sign up for a service, or install a television. Let's see. Sign up for a service. Question 2. Why must a man pay a fee? A. He wants to change his schedule. B. He returned an item late. C. He lost his membership card. And D. He needs an additional service. Let's try A. And last question. Question 3. What will the woman include in an email? A. A receipt. B. Login information. C. A membership contract. Or D. Driving directions. Let's try. Let's say B. B. All right. Now let's do part 4. All right. Here's part 4. The short talks. Listen carefully, then answer the following questions.
Amy, it is your responsibility to check that the store is clean and well stocked for customers before we open for the day. Most importantly, I would like you to make sure that the proper price tags are displayed in front of their corresponding products. Customers get really confused and upset when the price of a product is displayed incorrectly. In the case that a customer ever does get displeased, please let me know right away so I can come and deal with the problem in person.
Number 71.
All right, let's answer the question. Question 1 here. Where most likely does the speaker work? A theater, at a theater, at a car dealership, at a retail store, or at a library? Let's take a guess. At a retail store. Question 2. Where is the listener asked to double check? What is the listener asked to double check? Accurate prices, sales figures, business hours, or name tags. Let's try the first one. Accurate prices. Right. Question 3. When should the listener contact the speaker? If an employee is late for work, if a technical problem occurs, if an item is out of stock, or if a customer is dissatisfied. Let's take a guess. D. Alright, now moving on to part 5. Alright, this part is the incomplete sentences. So you need to fill in the blanks with A, B, C, or D. Not far from the train station lies Starlight Park, which is a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Let's try. Correct. That was an example of part 5. Now let's try part 6. Okay, here's part 6, the text completion. You have a long text here. It's an email. As we said, emails, advertisements, articles. Dear Mr. Smith, I am Sharon Big, CEO and founder of Big Graphics. I recently came across your advertisement seeking partnership of a graphic design company for a number of your projects. Big Graphics has extensive experience working with the various small businesses and companies in designing advertisement and campaigns, logos, and websites. Beginning a new sentence. Number 3, I have attached, I think, a number of our past designs to illustrate what we are specialized in. Sounds correct. I'm interested in working with your company on your project and hope we can build a beneficial partnership. I look forward to. Alright, that was an example of part completion. Now moving on to the last part, part 7. Alright, this is part 7. I have chosen a double passages. Remember the single passages, double passages, triple passages. Alright, let's get started here. So, question 1. Summer lecture series sponsored by the Department of City Planning at Worcester University. The Department of City Planning is excited to announce a summer lecture series that will be focusing on budgeting issues that concern local residents and municipalities. Financial management is one of the most important duties of local government's operations. We hope to improve the status of budgeting at local government level across the nation through community involvement and participation of all lectures will be held in Hayston Building and Worcester campus. So, Monday, February the 1st, 6 p.m., room 401, speaker, Tim Powell, professor of policy and analysis at Worcester University. Strategic planning, learn how to develop budgets in order to monitor progress toward community goals and successful outcome. Wednesday, the February 3rd at 7 p.m., room 305, Speaker Melissa Simmons, Kennedy Institute for Policy Making, focusing on our children. Studies show that building playgrounds and sport facilities for children helps make better communities. On Monday, February the 8th, at 6 p.m., room 202, speakers Hank Ross, Michigan Municipal League, managing our county parks, learn how to preserve our local parks at a valuable community resource. And finally, Wednesday, February the 10th, 5:30 p.m. or 5:30 p.m., room 404. Speaker Scott Watson, Executive Director, Local Government Academy, Economy Opportunities and Local Ecology. Economy opportunity is often accompanied by potential risk to surrounding ecosystem, and balancing the two can be difficult. Please contact Patricia Flores at plfrosiawunster.edu for additional information. And here's the answer. Well, I have read it before. So, moving on to the questions. Who most likely is the lecture series intended for? Let's say community members. Okay. Well, here you've got some explanation. Of course, you won't have explanation when you do the test. Question 2. In the brochure, the word through in paragraph 1, line 5 is closest in meaning to, via. All right, explanation. Question 3. What most likely will be discussed at the lecture on February the 10th? Get back to that. Remember, try to read the questions before. So question 3, I think, will be how to avoid environmental damage. If I remember correctly. Yes, some explanations here. Question 4, according to Mr. Patterson, whose lecture must be rescheduled? I think the answer is probably Miss Simmons. Right. And another question, the last one. What is Miss Flores instructed to do on a website? I think it's a change or a room reservation. Yes. All right. So that's it for this sample test. All right, guys, we reached the end of today's lesson, which gave us a complete overview of the TOEIC. Today, we looked at what the TOEIC is and what it measures, explored the listening section with its 4 parts: photographs, question response, conversations, and talks. And then we reviewed the reading section, including incomplete sentences, text completion, and reading comprehension. We also talked about the optional speaking and writing test, went through the scoring system and final tips, and finished with a short quiz using 1 sample question per section. You should now have a solid understanding of how the TOEIC works. Thank you for your attention, your participation, and your commitments to improving your English. I look forward to seeing you in our next section, in our next lesson, where we will begin TOEIC practice sessions and continue building your confidence and fluency in business communication. Bye-bye.